Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear, quite frankly. Happy birthday to Well, that marks 52 episodes of the Quite Frankly podcast. To be quite frank, you've reached the Quite Frankly podcast, where our mission is to love you deeply and generously. And as you can see or hear, we are two men committed to deep and generous love. And if you've experienced such deep and generous love over the past 52 weeks and 52 episodes, I just want you to take a moment and praise the Lord. You hear that, Brett? That's a lot of praise. That's a lot of praise. That's about 100,000 praises.
I hear it, dude. Oh man, what a trip. You know, it's unlike anything that I've ever been a part of, the likes of which we've never seen.
There's no doubt about it. And I remember just 52 weeks ago where you had a headset on and a backwards cap, and our audio sounded like trash. And look how far we've come.
We've come a long way. I was thinking about that the other day. I don't even, like, the first 5 episodes, I don't even want to think about them because the audio is just so horrible. But yeah, we've progressively, I think, gotten better from a production standpoint. Rodrigo has kind of steered the ship in the right direction, so we appreciate his leadership. Yeah, it's just incredible. You know, it's amazing to see kind of the road. You know, it twists and it winds, but it's led us here, and I'm thankful for that.
There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you one quick fact. Rodrigo, he has earned more than we pay him, to be quite frank. And I know we come on here and kind of bash Rodrigo a little bit for how he started, and sometimes he wouldn't do exactly what we asked him to do. And that's a kind of a problem when you work for somebody, if you don't do what they ask you to do. But as two men committed to deep and generous love, we extended a hand of grace and mercy. And look at where Rodrigo is today. Thriving. What else is a characteristic of Rodrigo?
I think he's a compassionate guy. Yeah. That's one thing that I would say about him. He loves to love. You know, he's a generous lover, just like the two of us.
Absolutely. And speaking of generous love, I was wondering, maybe what's one or two of your favorite memories over the past 52 weeks, related to this podcast, because we've experienced some new things in our lives, and a lot of it had to do with this podcast because of our listeners committing so consistently to listening. It's honestly inspired life in us. So 1 to 2 good memories.
I think my first memory, the first thing that really popped in my head was the the live taping, the live show that we did with your brother on campus before a football game. That was incredible. That was a really kind of pioneering moment. And my mic is just drooping on me. But no, yeah, that was an incredibly. That's right. Time goes on; it just happens. That was just a really, really fun episode. We're out there in our jorts. It's a lot of times we do this podcast and it's kind of late at night. You know what I mean? Like right now, not super late. It's 8:45, but we did that one. It was probably 6:30, 7 in the morning. And it's just so good when you've got the whole day ahead of you. The sun is rising behind you. You're on campus. It's a Saturday in the fall. There's going to be football and good food and things like that. So that one was definitely one of my favorite memories. I'm trying to think of a second one. All the guests that we've had on have been incredibly gracious and hilarious. One intriguing one was the water guys, Orca. They were pretty cool. They were interesting cats, real go-getters. I don't know the status of their company. I've kind of lost touch with them after that podcast, but hopefully they're doing well. That was the second memory that came to mind. Was we were so excited whenever we got them because they were kind of popping off on TikTok, and we thought, look, if we can hitch our proverbial wagon to this orca, this whale tail, if you will, maybe we could ride them to victory. And there was, it's not going to lie, it's our best performing video. I think it's got 16,000 views or something like that. It just blows all our other videos out of the water. But I don't know if that really converted over to listens on the podcast. So that's unfortunate. I hope they're doing well. I don't know if they are. I have a feeling they are not. But those are the two memories that kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, those are great memories. And it's hard for... Here's what my entrepreneurship class taught. And I thought it was quite valuable information for our people to hear, is the number one key to starting off in entrepreneurship. And hear me when I say starting off, I mean starting off, is to create a product that requires little to no upfront cost. So it would be a reactionary product versus a proactive product. So think about insurance. Insurance it costs the provider nothing, but it does cost when you have to react to something. So you're a provider of insurance. People are paying you for insurance. The only time you pay is then when something bad happens. But you're not paying for upfront. And so when you create something like a Orca beverage company, it can be difficult to really get that going because you have to have so much money to even start. And so you get into the whole angel investor thing, but this isn't a business class. This is the Quite Frankly podcast, where you learn tidbits of information about all kinds of things. I would say two of my favorite memories. One, this isn't really a memory. One of them was our UF campus, because I think that was just fun. And we had people walking up to us. It's like, what are y'all recording? Are y'all recording a television show? You're like, well, it's actually the Quite Frankly podcast, where we tell everybody how good Florida football is. Not really. Secondly, one of the things I enjoy about this podcast for the past 52 weeks is it makes us think about our weeks and reflect. And then I get to hear what your week has been like. And then I got people texting me, hey, my week was like this. My week was like this. And that's kind of how we want it to be designed. We want it to be like you're a part of the conversation, the listener. So if you just text us, the past 7 weeks have been blank, 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 or the past 7 days have been blank, 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 blank. Praise the Lord. That's what we want to hear. Another favorite memory of mine, and this is probably my all-time favorite memory from this podcast, is when Brett wore a half moo that he found at Dillard's.
I forgot about
in our
that.
live show in Texas. And then in our podcast episode, you can watch on YouTube or Spotify, the video, Brett does a little twirl around. And as he twirls around, the dress gets a little skimpy. If we learned anything about the skimpy skiffs from last week. One thing that I did want to share is I don't know if this podcast would pop off without my parents. They've been one of the most encouraging presence to this podcast, to me personally, to you, I'm certain, that I've experienced. And I talk about the love and sacrifice of parents a lot on this podcast. And every single time my mind is thinking, you know how easy it would be for my dad and mother to just make fun of us? To be
very,
what are y'all doing?
Easy.
What are y'all doing? And they don't. They celebrate. They have conversation. It's quite beautiful. And if I can even amount to the amount of love that they have, that would be something. But like I said before, one of the beautiful things is what the week is, getting to reflect on the weeks. And we've gone from here, let me share about my week, let me share about some sports, let me share about some pop culture, let me share about some reality TV, to just let me share about my entire week. And it ended up taking up the whole thing, the whole time, because like we say, everybody has an hour in a week. And the ones that spend it on this podcast, we are just so thankful for. I get a text from my friend Evan Bell. Because if you recall, last week I was talking about the shoveling sand in backyards with wheelbarrows and rakes. Well, Evan and I were the ones who were doing it. And so those are just fun memories to get to chat about. But you know what I'm curious about is the past 7 days of your life. What has been on the plate, the docket, if you remember? Because also, before you start, I'm certain we'll get to this, but in case our power goes out, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the middle of a hurricane warning. A tornado just passed Brett, and Gainesville is on tornado watch until 5 a.m. on August 5th. And so that's the predicament. So if the power goes out, we're sorry.
Right. And we will maybe resume. Maybe we'll just post the raw footage and see what happens. But no, it was a good week. It was a full week. Monday and Tuesday were pretty typical, pretty productive days. Wednesday, I had to go up to a job site in Brandon, and kind of watch that job. So got to be superintendent for a day. We're just pushing dirt around. So really not too much for me to do, but it's kind of nice, honestly, being out, whenever you're in the main office, people are always walking by, and that's, it's a very, how do I describe our office? It's nice. It is modern. The only doors are glass doors. So even if the door is shut, you kind of have an open door policy just by the nature of the doors all being glass, these big glass sliders. And so with that, you can get volunteered for a lot of different stuff, right? Someone needs something, they're looking around the office. Oh, Brett's over there. I can see through my door, through his door into his office. And, he's in there working, but, I'm sure he can just tack something on, So it's kind of nice being out on a job site in a trailer by yourself, because no one can come up to you and ask you to do tasks. And I'm not saying I was goofing around all day, because I certainly wasn't. It's nice to be out there isolated to where you can actually focus and get stuff done. So it was a positive that I was out there. Got there around 6:30, but living the superintendent life, I got to leave around 3:30. So that was pretty nice. So that was Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, we had this project that we're putting in a proposal for. One of the estimators was, I think he had surgery or something like that. So they asked, and this is kind of a similar situation to what I was talking about. Somebody's car horn's going off. Sorry, can you hear that?
Yes, we can.
I'm going to go check, make sure that's not mine, because Stetson's about to wake up and it's not going to be good.
And as Brett checks that, I want you to know everything he's saying about superintendent. He's lying. He's not telling you the truth. And take that for what you will. Really, I can say anything about Brett because he took his earphones out and he has no idea what I'm saying. But Brett is one of the greatest people I get to interact with. And to be quite frank, you get to interact with if you're listening to this podcast. And I'm thankful for his presence in my life, because I think, you don't often hear of... Oh, he's back. Okay, I'll stop. Welcome back. Was it your car?
Thank you. I had to fend off a carjacker. No, kidding. It was not my truck. However, it was someone right across kind of catty corner. And it's kind of weird because the alarm's going off. They have a flashlight on the outside of the car. And then all of a sudden the car door opens and the car starts. So I don't know if that's a carjacking or what happened. Maybe they just hit the wrong button because it's a tropical storm going on. Maybe they were in a hurry, hit the wrong button, whatever it is. My truck is still there, so at least I think it is.
For now.
So, yeah,
maybe a shark got it. Sharknado.
Maybe, dude. Sharknado is for real. I don't even know where I was. Oh, yes.
You were the superintendent.
I was. Thursday and Friday, we had a proposal. One of our estimators was going in for surgery, so they asked me and my PM, Will, if we could assist in some of the estimating efforts. So that was the majority of Thursday and Friday, was going through and, being estimators for a couple days. So really getting the full experience this week. Everything throughout the construction industry, other than like day labor, pretty much. So Saturday was pretty chill. Molly went and got she got an oil change first thing Saturday morning. I want to say it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Came back, went for a walk. I took Stetson out for a walk and we were gone for 30, 45 minutes, but just let Molly get some time. I don't know what she did, but just hung out, which is great. Just gave her some time. And then whenever we got back, we had to get little man down for a nap. And then we got ready because we had a birthday party at 2:00 on Saturday. Thankfully, the folks live in our neighborhood, so he slept from, I want to say 11:30 to just before 2:00. So I will say we were 15 minutes late to a birthday party that was within our neighborhood and maybe 2 minutes away, but no harm, no foul. It's a 1-year-old's birthday party. So there's a little miniature bounce house, a ball pit, which Stetson loves a ball pit. So it took him about 30 seconds to kind of, we walked in the door, he looks around. He's like anybody else at a party when you first walk in, you got TV here, bounce house, people talking. Do I need to say hello to anybody? We got the food in the back. And then, that takes 30, 45 seconds and then he's good. I set him down and he goes and kind of does his thing for the next 2 hours. So, but it was a fun party. It was race car themed. Nobody dressed up like NASCAR or anything like that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it was a good time. Just, I love watching Stetson just so happy, just rolling around in a ball pit with a bunch of other little kids. That's always fun. I will say, when we dropped Molly's car off to get her oil changed, I told you it was like first thing in the morning. And before the party, she was like, hey, they didn't call me. I wonder if it's done. I was like, it's been 4.5 hours. So I imagine they're done. She calls them up. She's like, hey, is my car done? They're like, yes, it is done. I'm like, okay, you didn't call me. She didn't say that. But after the party, we had to rush because it was 2:45 when we left the party and they close at 5. So we had to sprint over there as fast as possible so that we could get her car. And that was pretty much all of Saturday. And then today, Sunday, obviously we had this tropical storm coming through, Debby. But they said, look, we're going to do church. And it was raining pretty hard, I'm not going to lie. So they sent us out an email last night at like 8 p.m. And they're like, hey, we're doing church. It's like, okay, if y'all are doing it, then I'm there. So we roll up. The whole greeting team is outside with umbrellas, which is pretty nice, under the little covered area, trying to escort people inside. And the numbers were pretty slim. I'm not going to lie. They were pretty slim. But yeah, just did our normal first service, then went to Sunday school after that. And then came back home and watched some Olympics. So I will say your mom was here. It's so crazy that your mom was here this week because it honestly feels like it was 3 weeks ago. But your mom was here. Maybe she got here Tuesday. We went out to dinner, I think Wednesday night and Thursday night as well. And then I dropped her off at the airport at like 5:30 on Friday morning. So, when you make a drop off at the airport, you might as well just go to work. There's no sense in going back home and trying to get 5 minutes of sleep just so you can get back up and get in the truck and go. So, got a little bit of an early start on Friday, but it's always great having your mom here, playing with Stetson, helping out around the house. I'm like, look, if someone wants to come and live with us full time, I'd be fine with that. So I'll have to see if Jackson wants to move down or something like that, because he's, I think that's the energy that we're looking for. You know what I mean? Somebody who's willing to help with the kid, help with the, dishes and cooking around the house, all that good stuff. So I think he'd be a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah. You should offer it to him. See what he says. There's a trundle. There is a trundle that we built for our subscriber only subscribers. Maybe he could sleep on that.
It's true. And that's honestly, it's probably the safest place. I'm thinking about it. We just got out of we're a little late doing starting this podcast because we were in a tornado warning, which means that, it doesn't mean that it could happen. It means that it's likely to happen, right? So you're supposed to hunker down, get in the bathtub, whatever. I'm thinking maybe I'll just hop under, in this trundle, push me under, and we're safe. But yeah, it was, I haven't told the rest of my family. I've pretty much only told you this, but we did have a tornado come through. I was watching the weather, of course, after the tornado passed, but we did have a tornado and they were showing us the path that it went. And if you're familiar with the area, it pretty much, they were showing the shear levels and lightning bolts and everything like that. They're like, here's the path of the tornado. And they zoomed in and I was like, yo, that's our road. Just to the west. So yeah, we had a tornado come through about a half mile, maybe a mile to the east. But it didn't hit us. So that's a really good thing because I got the tornado warning when I was in the shower. I get out, tornado's gone, but look,
that'd be a tough way to go.
Bad timing.
Completely nude in the shower. Roof falls off. Roof is blown off.
I know, dude. I was thinking about it because I was listening to music in the shower like I do, and it just stopped and I hear, the annoying radar buzz alarm thing. And so I peek my head out of the shower and it says tornado warning. And I'm like, oh, dude, can you imagine if I'm just naked and wet, like a naked mole rat? And this whole top half of this place gets blown away and I'm just standing out in the yard in all my glory.
Where did my house go?
He's like, put some pants on. I'm homeless now.
Pee on it. Pee on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so yes, very grateful, very thankful that it did not hit us. But supposedly it's supposed to be a lower likelihood, a lower severity of storms coming through after that one. So hopefully that was the worst of it, and it just blows right by us. So,
and you can't really expect a strong storm from a woman like Debbie. Debbie's a sweet, sweet old lady who doesn't have much power in her bones anymore. And so it can be difficult for Debbie to really muster up the wind tunnels to really create a powerful roof-shattering storm, if you will.
Right. Yeah, a name like Debbie, there needs to be something done about these storm names are a little ridiculous. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. There's got to be some names that we have to exclude, right? I know they retire names of hurricanes like Katrina. I'm like, well, it's like what, putting their jersey up in the rafters, dude? We're going to memorialize Katrina that way.
How about if you threw out a Hurricane Mildred? Mildred is another sweet, sweet name. Yeah,
we need to end the grandmother names for storms because this was a tropical storm. People aren't going to take a tropical storm seriously anyways. I think it's supposed to become a hurricane at some point. But if you got like a Cat 5 and you're naming this thing like Ethel, you're like, oh, I know an Ethel. She's 92. She's the sweetest lady of all time. She wouldn't hurt me. And then Ethel, the hurricane, comes through and demolishes everything you own. So I think they need to start naming these hurricanes you know, they all wonder, oh, nobody runs from these storms anymore. They're all cocky and prideful. You know, that's probably true. But also, when you're naming storms Debby, nobody's going to evacuate, dude. You need to name it like Ivan. Ivan was
is
bad,
a strong,
dude.
scary
Ivan
name.
Maybe it's because of my panhandle bias. Ivan was worse than Katrina, I think, from a wind standpoint. You know, we just didn't build our city under sea level. Sorry, New Orleans, that was a bad idea. But Ivan was bad. And I think people took it seriously because they think Ivan the Terrible, right? Ivan is an aggressive name, and they know the storm is going to be aggressive. But when you throw Debby in there, just makes me think of dang cosmic brownies, bro.
Yeah. Little
Debbie.
Maybe the
little
next
Debbie.
category 5 hurricane could be Hurricane Kim Jong-un.
Hurricane Hitler. And
Hurricane Vladimir Putin.
I was going to say Hurricane Hitler is headed straight for Boca Raton.
And that is the end of this podcast. We lasted 52 weeks. I'm afraid we will no longer be able to post anything.
You got to admit, that's pretty good. Oh, goodness. But
We will now be called, we are changing our show name from Quite Frankly to Quite and Frankly.
That's all. Yeah. We could go on for days. We could. Oh, gosh. But yeah, no, I was just Debby, man. You can't. I don't know who names these things, if it's the NOAA or the National Hurricane Center or what it is, but they got to step their game up and they got to be more thoughtful with these, because if we get a serious hurricane and they name it something kind and gentle, yeah, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. They need to stick to the aggressive names to make sure people take it seriously. Because right now, all I'm thinking about is zebra cakes and ho-hos and honey buns.
You're on a big little Debbie cake here.
Debbie just rolled through my town, dude. She spun a tornado towards my house, dude. You expect me to not think about little Debbie cakes?
Debbie would have had you nude eating a cosmic brownie right out the shower.
If she ripped my roof off and dropped a cosmic brownie in my hands,
there's a commercial there somewhere.
Oh, goodness. But, yeah, that was my week. It's, originally I was thinking back. I couldn't remember anything that happened because I have just a horrible memory. And I'm going to be honest, I almost totally forgot that your mom was in town. But that was a pretty integral piece of the whole week. So I'm glad I caught it there at the end. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with her. Watching the Olympics was fun. We watched China and North Korea play mixed doubles table tennis. And without getting too political, it's pretty crazy that China and North Korea are allowed to be in the Olympics, first off. And then we've got these two, they're fighting for gold in table tennis. And the announcer is like, and these are the true titans of table tennis. I was like, I guess they are, dude. No one else, they can't go anywhere else in the world because they're a threat to society. But look, they're at the Olympics and they're playing table tennis. Dictatorship or not.
Yeah. They got something right, at least, I think it's easy to lose sight that the citizens of China and the citizens of North Korea are humans too. I think often they are dehumanized by the society and the media because of their rulers. And that's just a fault of, to be quite frank, that's a fault of other humans. It's quite sad that, well, it actually makes you more thankful for the freedoms in which we get to live. Because that's not necessarily a guaranteed, and it's not necessarily a necessity to life. And in fact, everyone's enslaved to something. But if you have questions on that, reach out to the podcast. We'd love to talk more. But if we start talking about it now, we will, I promise you, run to 2 hours. And so I will refrain.
Right. But yeah, I don't know if you watched any of the Olympics, but it was America is dominant once again in swimming. Track and field, I think, just started a couple days ago, so I'm sure we'll win some medals in that as well. But yeah, it's crazy to see all the different countries, and you're like, the Americans are just competing for whatever the reason is, whether it's for the love of their country or for the love of their self, whether they want the fame and the glory for themselves. And it seems like the folks from North Korea and China, they're fighting for, I'm sure they love their country, but, if they don't do so well, there's no telling what's going to happen back home, Like if one of them pulls a Simone Biles from last Olympics, not saying that she was right or wrong doing what she did, but if she was on a Chinese team and she did that, I don't think things would end well for her. And that's just my opinion.
So you think lives are at stake when it comes to China and North Korea in the Olympics?
Yeah, and maybe even not the Olympians, but, maybe their mom goes missing or their little brother, something like that, Oh, little Timmy, where'd he go? Oh, no one's heard from him in a month. Like,
It really is fascinating because Chinese citizens, the Chinese government can basically red list anybody that's a citizen of China for any reason whatsoever. And so you do something they don't like, whether it's illegal or not, they can actually say, no, you cannot go anywhere. And that's a bit frightening, but that also goes back to the conversation that I said we would not get into as to why we should be thankful. If you live in America, I know some of our people live in France. One of you live in Dubai. But experiencing the freedoms that you experience in France, etc., America, that's not the case in China. Yet these Chinese Olympians and North Korean Olympians are humans. It's just fascinating. It's not something I spend a lot of time thinking about, but maybe I should.
Well, I guess with that, I'd love to hear how your week went. Yeah, we talked about the Olympics a little bit, but I want to hear about the rest of your week because I'm assuming you watched the Olympics, but outside of that time, I don't know what you did. I'm guessing there's a little bit of pickleball in there. Hopefully we've got a report on the knee, but I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you letting me share. I'll start with the Olympics, and I got a notification on my phone here around 11 a.m. that said Scotty Scheffler won gold in the Olympics. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right. Scotty Scheffler wasn't even on the leaderboard going into the day, which was sad because I was excited for Scotty. Scotty shot a course record 62 to win the dadgum gold medal. How clutch do you have to be to shoot a course record to win the gold medal after being down 4 strokes? You know how hard it is to win a tournament when you're down 4 strokes on the final day, it's hard. It's harder than hard in the professional world. But Scotty Scheffler got it done. And Scotty Scheffler is my favorite golfer on this planet, aside from... Scotty Scheffler is my favorite professional golfer on this planet, period. And so, way to go, Scotty. He was a bit emotional after. Family man, good man. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him myself, and so it's kind of one of those deals where you kind of study up on him, and he has no idea who you are, and so you want to play it cool if you ever meet the guy. You don't want to say, "Hey, how's Meredith? How's the baby? Oh, we're best friends." And Scotty's like, "You're a stalker. Get away from me." No, you have to start in very slow, like, "Who is Meredith? Oh, you had a baby? I had no idea." And so Scotty's like, "Oh, finally, someone who isn't tracking my every move." Right. And then he can be a little vulnerable with you, and you're like, "Oh, it's okay, Scotty."
Caress his back. It's okay, Scotty.
Yeah, and a nice circular movement on his back. Come on, bring it in, pal. And so you just want to prepare for those kinds of moments. But I celebrate the win with Scotty because, to be quite frank, it's just enjoyable and it was unexpected. So great job, Scotty. Now I will begin my week. Monday. It's a rather most of my time at work is filled these days, especially in August. And so there's not really let's take a break during the 8 to 5. It's usually here's one thing after the next, which I enjoy. I prefer that. But this week, the main work project was getting a television to work for sermon slides. And so that was actually quite the task. It was quite the learning task. Then placing all volunteers. Anyway, so 8 to 5, we'll just use that as the marker of my work week. And that's Monday through Thursday. All right, so you know that. Monday evening, pickleball with Ryan and Megan Mert. Tuesday, it is one of our ladies in our life group's last week in life group. So she has celiac, which my grandmother has celiac, old Graham.
Shout out, Graham.
And so I'm privy to the gluten-free treats. And so I get Sweet Lorenz. And let me tell you, that would be a terrible hurricane name. Hurricane Sweet Loren. It would only make me want to be a part of that hurricane because her cookies are just absolutely phenomenal. So we had those great cookies, and everybody was saying, "Oh, I can't believe they're gluten-free." And I just wanted to open that to the world. Sweet Loren, she makes a great cookie. That was Tuesday. Tuesday night after life group, around 9 p.m., 9:15 p.m., Zach, Allen, Evan Haynes, and I go to BJ's and enjoy a Pizookie. It was just a great time with the fellas where we chatted one another's boxes, if you will. Chatterboxes is another way to say it. Wednesday rolls around. Wednesday, one of the guys in my life group, Josh Dixon, absolutely phenomenal guy from North Carolina. That's way too much information, so please don't go search for him on the internet. Well, he's working a clinic at 5 p.m., and I am serving in the youth playing piano at 5 p.m., but we were on a mission to grab dinner. So instead of grabbing dinner at 9 p.m., we grabbed dinner at 3:30 p.m. And honestly, it was absolutely great. You eat dinner at 3:30 p.m., you're pretty filled up, and then when you get home at 9 p.m., you just have a bowl of yogurt and maybe a chocolate chip. And I would do that over and over. I mean, that sounds like an old man move, but that was honestly...
Just one chocolate chip?
Maybe I would say 5 to 10 chalky chips. But it would be funny if you just put one on the top.
You're like, which spoonful will it be? It's like finding the dime in the collard greens, man. You never know where it's going to be.
Absolutely. And so we had dinner at 3:30. I served with the youth at 5. Their service starts at 6:45. You have to do your sound check, of course. Let me share you a little bit about that. Shout out to Nathan Bryan, Abby Bryan, and Stephen Chauncey. That's who I served with. And Malachi Dam. Malachi Dam is a student, so I didn't want to share his name, but I went ahead and did it, so forgive me. But Stephen Chauncey, Nathan Bryan, Abby Bryan, what a joy they are to serve with. That was Wednesday. It was great. Thursday rolls around. Backtrack. We're back to Wednesday. Wednesday, I got an MRI on my knee at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. And then, that was great. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It took like 12 to 15 minutes. And they broke it up. So if you've never had it, have you had an MRI before?
Never have, dude.
Let me teach you about the MRI.
I'm not falling apart, bro.
You just don't work hard enough. That was a joke. I'm an old man. I've hurt myself being an old man. Here's what an MRI on the knee looks like. The woman says, "Hey, take your
hand
shoes
motions
off."
There were not beneficial.
Take your shoes off. Yes, ma'am. What kind of music would you like?
Stop this.
I'm just saying, this is what happened. What kind of music would you like? I can do anything you want. I'm like, all right, woman, you gotta back off a little bit. You got any worship music? And she says, "Yeah, I can do that. Would you like the lights turned off? Would you like the lights turned off?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" I mean, this thing, it was 7:30 in the morning. So, I mean, I practically was just asleep. But the worship music, it wasn't throwback worship to like the 1990s, early 2000s, and it wasn't the new stuff. It was the Dead Center 2010s, which is no good.
What? Like what? What? Name a song, dude. Is it like something off the Shane and Shane, like vintage?
Good Father, No Longer Slaves.
Oh, you're right.
Just the ones that have been played about 100 million times.
Right.
It was basically K-Love, current day K-Love, except maybe a little worse. And so
you're like, if that's possible.
Yeah. And so the only regret I have from the MRA is not putting her on a better playlist. But I respect the catering. They cater to whatever your desires are. So I should have said Flobo and Ball and Brett. You ever heard of them? But missed opportunity.
You should have had. You should have said, "Yeah. Can I just plug my phone into the aux and then hand her the phone? You've got a playlist that says like MRI mix." She's like, "What, bro? How many of these things have you had?" It would have been incredible.
Oh man, yes. And so the MRI, it's broken up into sections. So 4 sections, and you have to remain very still because it's basically lasering an image of your knee, inside your knee. Fascinating technology. But they say, all right, this image takes 4 minutes. And then after 4 minutes, machine stops. She's, "Are you doing okay? You're doing great." And I said, "Thank you very much. Can we keep this show on the road?"
You're like, "I need a couple more affirmations would be great between the images."
Yeah. And so I currently have a disc. I'm waiting to go to my doctor's appointment because they have to then analyze the results. So it's a real 1-2 punch going on. And we got the first punch in the left side. Now we're waiting for the equalizer. And so that's where I am at my knee stage. So that was Wednesday. Thursday rolls around. Thursday, in the afternoon, there's a big FCA event. So all kinds of, I think 800 or so athletes in Alachua County came over to West Side just as like a big FCA kickoff event. So that was pretty exciting. And then Thursday night around 6, I actually went to play pickleball again. This time it was with some other members of my life group. Their names, Dylan Bossy, Adam Perry, and Sydney Switzer. And that was just an absolute blast. And then Friday rolls around. Friday morning. Play more pickleball with another guy in my life group. His name is Benjamin Smith. And then Ryan Mert. And so... And so, as Brett is in a tornado warning, I will share and try to wrap this thing up quickly before he dies and gets all of his clothes taken off and has a honey bun in his hand. the Friday, then I go to Ocala. After pickleball, I go to Ocala, pick up another rental car, another Toyota Corolla, in which I say, hey, I had an old Corolla. Is there anything new? I don't have anything. They don't have anything new. They're out of cars. They said, call another place on your way back with this new Corolla. I call the other place. They like, oh, well, we would charge you. We would have to upcharge you for anything bigger. I'm like, well, I drove something bigger in my car. My actual car is bigger than a daggum Corolla. So,
Right.
No, I will not pay more. I didn't actually say that. I said, let me call you back. I had to gather my thoughts, and now I'm processing them on a podcast. And anyway, Friday night, I grabbed dinner with Stephen Chauncey at Linda Vista. We both get steak bowls, same exact order, absolutely beautiful time. Saturday morning rolls around. Saturday, I play golf with David Chauncey, Stephen Chauncey, and the new pastor at Northwest Baptist Church at Hawkstone Country Club. My apologies.
How dare you?
And
How dare you?
That was a great time. So Stephen and I were playing best ball versus David and Brian. Well, Stephen and I, for the first couple of holes, were alternating. He makes a par, I make a par. He makes a par, I make a par. And so we're doing good. And then I start making pars, birdies, and bogeys, and Steven starts making birdies, par, birdie, par, birdie. And so Steven, I believe, shot a 73 on the day. I was at 83 on the day. Needless to say, we absolutely smoked Pastor David and Brian. Now, I'm not here to rub it in the face. I actually really appreciated the time with the four of us. It was just an absolutely phenomenal day. After golf, that was 8:45 to about 1. I drive to the church where we have a wraparound care event. Wraparound care is providing, quite literally what it says, wraparound care to foster families in Gainesville. Meals, prayer, advocacy, child care, etc. So wraparound care, there's a back to school event where we provide foster children school supplies for the upcoming year. So there were 200 foster children there, 50 families. Praise God. The people in charge are doing an amazing work. I got to serve with none other than my Thursday pickleball partner, Dylan Bossy, once more. So that was another fun time. Then today rolls around. I help lead worship over at the Southwest campus. Then I drive over to the Newberry Road campus. We have a new members class. And then I got to see the TV in action. It all comes full circle here.
Ooh.
And it was nice to see. We have some problems. I'm speaking as someone who's interfaced with the equipment. There are some fixes. if you were just an attender, you might be able to tell, you might not. It's up to you. But I'm not really one to base excellence off of what other people think. Which could be a good or bad thing, or both. Anyway, actually, never mind. I mean, quickly, the answer is I should base excellence off of what the Bible says excellence is. That's the answer. Is it glorifying to God? Am I doing the best I can with the posture of wanting to honor the Lord? That is excellence. That is the best. Then we are now in a hurricane tropical storm watch. Brett's in a tornado watch. I'm in a tornado. Brett's in a tornado warning. I'm in a tornado watch. We are not the same. But we are the same in that we are on this podcast with each other. And we have hit 52 weeks of pure bliss. Not really. Some of it's been really challenging. I think we've cried. Both Brett and I have cried on this podcast. Several because times. It gets emotional. Because we are processing thoughts that maybe we haven't shared before. And the screen allows for a little more vulnerability because it's not face-to-face connection. And so there's something beautiful in the openness of this podcast, I hope. And I hope the listener, I hope you have felt that. And I hope this would be my dream, is if you're talking like you're in a conversation while you're listening to this podcast, and then you're like, guys, let me talk. You're not giving me any space to talk. So right now, Brett and I are going to give you 10 full seconds to share whatever you want to, starting right now. That's some pretty powerful stuff.
That's huge. That's incredible. Very proud of you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know that was a hard thing to get off your plate, and it took some serious courage to do that. So, way to go.
Well, I'll say this. With us being under a tornado warning, I'd love to hear from my local meteorologist. You probably hear the thunder in the background. But more important than my personal safety and the safety of my family, I'd love to hear what your song of the week is.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going, The Whole Earth is Full of Your Glory by Mission House. The whole earth is full of your glory. It's been an absolute banger. Released in 2024. Brand new, June 28th. 1 month old.
Dang.
How about
we'll
you?
Add it to the list, and I'm sure it's a banger. We'll get to listen to it. My song is "Courtside" by Tim Atlas. It's kind of it's kind of a pop song, Not a huge fan of these types of songs, but I think this one's pretty good. So we'll throw it in there, and you guys let us know. Let us know what you think of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, subscriber-only content. We just dropped an episode last week. If you haven't been up to date on it, it was all talking about the best foods at a family reunion and how to make your family reunion better. And whether that happens at a table of 6 every night or a table of 35 once a year. We hope you listen to that. Rate us 5 stars. And really, we want to answer some serious questions that you may have on this podcast. We want to make this podcast an interactive place, a place where you can come and find resolve in your life. Because we, to be quite frank, love you deeply and generously. And we're not going anywhere after 52 episodes. We're going to see you in 7 days.